Are you searching for the perfect love? You can't purchase it, you perfect love. Don't be searching for the perfect love unless I let you searching for someone inside yourself.
Welcome to the Women in Hip Hop Wednesdays podcast. I'm your host, your music midwife and nerdy hip hop homegirl, Coco Peila. I'm a multi-hyphenate hip hop artist, singer, songwriter, record producer, songwriting coach, and MC. And I don't know why I just said it in that intonation, but and an MC, which is what qualifies me to take you on this journey. This week, we are returning to a fan favorite. I always call it a fan favorite. I don't know if that's the accurate phrase, but it's one of folks' most favorite segments on the podcast. It's called, well, okay, let me stop lying. People really love this segment, but I love it, which is why I do it. Because I got to be doing what I love. I love it. I love reading. I'm a bookworm. But this segment is called Her Story in the Pages. And this week, we are continuing our read aloud of Kathy Iandoli's God Save the Queens, the essential history of women in hip hop. It is March. It is Women's History Month, okay? And as you know, hip hop history is women's history. I have been talking a lot about intergenerational trauma, about the institution of slavery, of, sexism as a ancient system of oppression, anti-Black racism as a ancient racism, period. And anti-Black racism within that as, a centuries-old system of oppression. But our history as Black African heritage people did not begin with slavery, with enforced servitude. It did not begin with us being trafficked to the Americas. We have a rich, rich history that's beyond that. And I do tend to focus, the way that my mind works sometimes, for better or for worse, is that I want to talk about the things that we're not supposed to talk about. I want to talk about the things that maybe we're missing. I want to talk about the things that contextualize the conversation or our world. Many of the things are just my interpretation and perspective of things that our great thinkers and minds have said. And when I say great thinkers and minds, I'm talking about your grandmama, your uncle, your teacher, the people in our community have been saying these things, but this is just my version of it. But I did wanted to note that it's something that I think is important that we explore throughout this podcast, which is not just the history of oppression, but the history of liberation, the history of resistance, and the histories that predated the creation of certain systems of oppression, so that we don't identify ourselves or confuse ourselves with the systems of oppression and their impacts on us as groups of people. And that's another reason why I absolutely adore this book. And there's many other hip hop books, or there's a number of hip hop books history books and different books that I can't wait to read with y'all. But currently we're reading through, God Save the Queens, the essential history of women in hip hop. Go ahead and head down to the description at the end of this video to check out the HarperCollins link to purchase this book. Support the author. She's a woman in hip hop. Big shout out to you, Kathy Iandoli. Kathy Iandoli is a journalist, a writer. She's written several books. She wrote Who's That Girl with Eve. She wrote Baby Girl, better known as Aaliyah. She wrote this book, God Save the Queens. She wrote the book with Gucci Mane about his life. I'm so sorry it's not at the top of my head, but she is she's a head. She's a hip hop head, and she is a woman in hip hop, and she been in this. She's loyal to the soil of this culture, and when I discovered this book, I just like absolutely fell in love with it and just appreciate her contribution. So we're about to get into chapter 6, Riot Girls. I'm so excited. Okay. All right. Let me chill out. Oh, she's cute. She's got a cute accent. That was the knee-jerk reaction from male rappers during the late 80s when they first met Monie Love. No, I'm not cute, Monie Love declares to me emphatically, her faint British accent accentuating her point. That's why I shaved my hair off. I taped the boobies down, not cute. I'm a mess. I'm a deadly, venomous mess on this microphone. Do not sleep on me. In the spring of 1988, Simone Monie Love Johnson left London, England at the age of 17 to pursue hip-hop full-time in New York City. Having already secured some entry-level success in England, Monie arrived ready to rock. By then, Def Jam was dominating the scene, as their acts, including LL Cool J, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, and Slick Rick, were all enjoying significant success. Along with outsiders like Big Daddy Kane and Eric B. and Rakim, signed to Island Records, Def Jam wouldn't sign their first female rapper, Nikki D, for another year, and Nikki wouldn't release her debut album, Daddy's Little Girl, until 1991. The market was saturated with male talent, so for a new girl, getting some mic time in was tough to do. It was 1977 all over again. You know, it's just passing the mic around to men. So finally, I have to tap somebody on the shoulder and be like, yo, I've been standing here. Can I get on the mic? Monie explains of the boys club. They'd all be looking at me like, what? Then when they gave me the mic, they're all looking at me with their mouths to the floor like, holy crap. With Salt and Pepper on their second album and MC Lyte dropping her debut, 1988 was a big year for women. Men, however, were in the throes of leveling up. In 1988, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince released their second studio album, He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, with the colossal single, Parents Just Don't Understand. Big shout out to Philly. There was a fresh princess in the Smith family too, Will's sister Ellen, who also rapped, though she didn't hit the mainstream like her brother. South Bronx Trailblazers Boogie Down Productions, comprising KRS-One, D-Nice, and DJ Scott LaRock, came through with the groundbreaking follow-up, By All Means Necessary, released after the death of the group's DJ producer Scott LaRock in 1987. Run DMC was on their fourth album, Tougher Than Leather, as NWA changed rap as we know it with Straight Outta Compton. No two artists sounded alike, and all were winning their own game, though with no small amount of ego. This time was looked upon as the start of hip-hop's golden age, one that would extend well into the 90s. For Monie Love, being new to the territory, cute, and with an exotic accent, she entered a meat market, not a battleground, when she first walked into the club. All the A-list rappers tried hitting on her. She replays for me some of their pickup lines with a heavy sigh. Her personal goal was to turn them all down because it only took one romance to change the popular opinion of the men in the mix. Hip-hop was becoming an undeniable moneymaker, and the male performers would rather have the girl from England on their arm than beside them on stage. What you all need to be clear on and flattered about is that you and the culture that you exude has touched outside of where you're from, Moni remembers thinking. You have touched other countries. That's really what you should be focusing on when you look at me. The solution was to conceal everything but her lyrics. With a shaved head, taped down breasts, and baggy clothes, Moni demanded respect for what came out of her mouth, since everything else was an unfortunate distraction. Her skills were undeniable, with syllable flips that made her rhyme patterns feel like lyrical hopscotch as she breezed through her verses. There was no one on the scene like Moni Love, and while there was still room for women to grow, the true strength of their power came in numbers. The best defense was to unify. Before Moni Love moved to the States, she met a young American artist named Queen Latifah, who was on a mini tour in England. Born Dana Owens, Latifah was a New Jersey native who started out as a beatboxer for a trio named Ladies Fresh, while dividing her time with singing at her local church. Ladies Fresh surpassed their Irvington High School fame and began traveling the local circuit. Meanwhile, Latifah hung out with a small crew of new rappers and creatives who later became flavor units. Producer The 45 King was one prominent member of Flavor Unit. Flavor Unit, but I'm just reading it off the page. Y'all, I know how to say flavor. Okay. And other acts would eventually be managed by the entity, including Naughty by Nature, Black Sheep, Nikki D, and many others. There was something special about Queen Latifah, though, and like her demo track, she was the princess of the posse. Oh my God, I love that album. Yo MTV Raps Fab Five Freddy caught wind of the Jersey Girls' cut, and it wasn't long before Latifah locked a record deal with Tommy Boy and delivered her first single, Wrath of My Madness. Her style was direct and commanding, sealing her fate as one of the strongest voices of women in hip-hop out the gate. A friendship with Moni Love was immediately forged. They stayed in touch after Queen Latifah left England. Then we had the discussion during one of our friendly conversations that we should do a song, and we should make some type of song that's an anthem for women, recalls Moni. It took about 8 months for the two to actually record Ladies First, though once Moni reached New York City for good, it was on. The two met up in Queens to get the track done. It was a really fun session, Moni says. The Flavor Unit guys were there, and of course, Mark, the 45 King. Latifah would be on one side of the studio, and it was like we'd write a couple of rhymes, we'd show them to each other, and we'd be like, yo, cue the song. They would volley their product back and forth. Latifah would do the lines she wrote, Moni recalls. The ladies will kick it, the rhyme that is wicked. Those that don't know how to be pros get evicted. I'd be like, yo, that's dope. Then I'd do the lines I wrote. Slick and smooth throwing down the sound. Totally a yes. Let me state the position. Ladies first. Yes. Okay, I messed that up. Moni, forgive me. I botched that, girl. Give me a second. I'm reading it off the page. It's so different. And she'd go, yo, that's dope. Then they'd retreat back to their corners, write some more, and check back in on their progress. The whole session went like that. It was so funny. It was so much fun. Unbeknownst to them, in that moment, they were changing the face of hip hop for women everywhere. We didn't realize that we were making a song that was going to be socially packed and such an anthem for women, Moni says. We did not realize the seriousness of what we were doing. We were having so much fun, but we were also so proud of what we were saying. The song was released as a single and appeared on Latifah's 1989 debut album, All Hail the Queen. In the music video, images of recognizable figures from Black American history flash before the screen as Queen Latifah moves pieces around a large chessboard and Moni Love shimmies in front of the project houses in the distance. performance. Other female rappers like Miss Melody make cameos, and Queen Latifah harmonizes on a special hook for the music video version. It was just perfect, and it was the right timing, Moni adds, since 1989 was a monumental year for hip hop music. The Recording Academy had just begun to recognize rap as Grammy worthy, so that year a Best Rap Performance category was added to the awards ceremony. The nominees included DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince for Parents Just Don't Understand, LL Cool J for Going Back to Cali, Salt and Pepper for Push It, JJ Fab for Supersonic, and Kool Moe Dee for Wild Wild West. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, hey. So these prints right here in this room on my lap, next to me, behind me, these are the last ones that I have. There are about 60 of these prints left. Once they sell out, we are not reprinting these colors, and we're not reprinting the prints because it's some other things in the mix. So I want to make sure that if you want one of these gorgeous prints and the song download that comes with it and the extra secret song download, you have to watch all the March episodes of the Women in Hip Hop Wednesdays podcast to know that there's a little secret goodie specifically only for March that's going to be thrown in with these March prints. But here's the really exciting news. I am throwing a listening party for my next album, Confessions of a Black Feminist Rapper, Part 2, Trigger Warning, right here in New York City live on the 21st of March from 2 to 5 p.m. And hold up, West Coast, Bay Area people, don't come for me. Outside of the US, worldwide, don't come for me because we're also live streaming globally online. So anyone who wants to come to this event, you can either grab that in-person ticket. Now, there are only 45 tickets left for the in-person event. So I would suggest you get on that ASAPratory. And then for online, I also would suggest you get on that ASAPratory. You can go to cocopeila.com/altars, ALTARS, to get your ticket. And here's the cool thing. When you get a full package ticket, you get this print, the song downloads, and the ticket to the listening party. And then after we listen to the cuts, after we listen to the sounds of DJ KK on the ones and twos, I'm gonna offer a special altar making workshop. This event is called Altars for Our Inner Children because the album, for those of you who don't know, is about, it's a love letter to my inner child. It's about growing up. It's about being a survivor. And it's about connecting the dots and doing the healing work. And so just like I put my inner child on the album art, as a visual altar for the sonic altars that are on the album, I want to provide some altar making supplies and a workshop for y'all to take a picture of little you. And well, I can't give you all the tea. You just got to come to the event. So anyway, go to cocopeila.com/altars. This event is literally my birthday gathering. I haven't done an official birthday gathering, and I really wanted to be bold and courageous and share some of the unheard cuts from the album with y'all. So I will see you there. And for y'all who want that live, that in-person ticket, snatch that shit up ASAP. All right, peace. The hip-hop community staged a massive Grammy boycott, however, because their award category wasn't televised. Even the winners, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, weren't in attendance, though Kool Moe Dee did attend. When he presented the award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance, he rapped a freestyle about how hip-hop wasn't going anywhere. It was the first stroke of rebellion that hip-hop would introduce to the mainstream, pushing to show just how strong a force both the culture and the music have become. Never to be muted, hip-hop continues speaking up. Knowing they could easily be marginalized, female rappers were charged up. In 1990, Moni Love debuted her first full-length album, Down to Earth, which included her hit single, It's a Shame, My Sister, a song that made it onto both the rap and dance charts, as well as Moni in the Middle and Ring My Bell. Salt and Pepper's third album, Black's Magic, sealed the trio's fate as seductive rhyme spitters where songs like Let's Talk About Sex, Do You Want Me, and You Showed Me combine sexuality with social awareness. With Let's Talk About Sex, the title foreshadowed a bigger discussion of not only removing the stigma from conversations about sexual intercourse, but also introducing a greater acceptance that young adults were, in fact, having sex. Further, with the AIDS epidemic still in full force, stressing the importance of safe sex was urgent. Salt and Pepper smashed through the barrier that sex talk was taboo, and their status as both celebrities and artists made their input even more important. When you grow up and things are going on around you and you see how it affects people, you have an opportunity to motivate people in directions that will help a cause or inspire things, Spinderella says. We were growing up and we were facing things. The group, like other female acts, had the will and drive to speak out, while men at the time were often reveling in their own success stories. That's not to say men were completely quiet. Slick Rick was developing a strong track record for rhyming fables with a moral at the end, which begun in 1988 with his debut album, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. But there was something about how women were finessing this narrative and weaving in their own truths. For men, it was taking a step back to address issues involving women. Female artists spoke from experience, only intensifying the message. After all, it wasn't the men being assaulted, it wasn't the men getting pregnant, and it wasn't the men being reduced to objects with pretty exteriors. Queen Latifah brought her second album, Nature of a Sister, in 1991 with the dynamic Latifah's Had It Up to Here. Hip-hop was growing for women as a means to express themselves in ways that were new and boundary-pushing. While so much of the time at the dawn of the art form was spent simply legitimizing their very presence as active participants in the music, now it was using that opportunity to deliver much needed messages. Times were changing. Women in rap were speaking up, and for what felt like the first time, the wider audience was listening. Sexism was still everywhere, including in the DJ community. From my standpoint as a DJ, sexism was happening most of the time, Spinderella says. People look at you because you're cute, they look at you because you're sexy, and it just totally takes away from the talent that you bring. I've dealt with that. Oh, she can't DJ. Come on, let's battle. You cute, but it's all a gimmick. For me, it's only pushed me farther to show those naysayers what it was that I could do. There are some perks to that uphill battle. You can use it to your advantage, though, she continues, when you're doing something different from the norm, from what the norm is. When you're doing something different from what the norm is, you take that and you let it be the fuel to catapult you. At the end of the day, your talent is going to speak for itself. If you showing them boys out, they're going to hate that. And they're going to hate it even more when you're cashing those checks. While the fight against sexism continued to be a problem, there still wasn't some tight-knit community of female rappers propping each other up, despite them all having a similar goal in mind. I want to be fair by saying that there was beef amongst us back then, Moni Love says. Sometimes when people say, oh, girls back then all got along. No, we didn't. And I like to be honest about that because I don't want to demonize the current women for whatever qualms they may have with each other. The one thing we knew for sure is that hip hop was not a fully respected genre. And we were all so busy fighting and trying to get back to being respected that trying to shut somebody else down behind closed doors was not ever a thought that crossed any female's mind. Women were just looking to get ahead in the race, unaware of who could be undermining whom amid the whispers. Per Moni, what did cross our mind was girls on the East Coast, we felt like we had lyrics. Out West, JJ Fad had Supersonic, but a slim few were considered worthy competition. Girls from the West Coast, aside from Yo-Yo and later Lady of Rage, just had spandex and body parts. That's all we saw, she continues. We were like, y'all girls can't rhyme. JJ Fad can't rhyme. Oaktown's 357, y'all can't rhyme. Y'all just showing your body and the California sun and the spandex. Like, we really got the lyrics over here. We're in the trenches rhyming for real. So there was that dislike, in all honesty. Y'all know, being from the Bay Area, it's hard to just listen to that without saying nothing. Years later, Moni saw it differently. It's funny because I apologized to 357 in my adult years. I was like, girl, you guys are significant. I can't look back and not see you guys now. There had to be you. There had to be a JJ Fad. There had to be an Oaktown's 357. Moni says, we had to have you because if we didn't have you, then our representation of women in hip hop in whatever way, shape, or form wouldn't have existed in LA. We needed to have your presence. JJ Fad was rooted in the heart of the goings-on of LA hip hop, particularly with NWA. JJ Fad's debut album, Supersonic, was executive produced by Eazy-E and included production from Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, and Arabian Prince. Over in the Bay Area, Oaktown's 357 was formed under the eye of MC Hammer, who was swimming in the success of You Can't Touch This, off his third studio album, 1990's Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em. Both JJ Fad and Oaktown's 357 did provide a necessary female component to the male energy emitting from the West Coast, no matter how pop their sound skewed. But another female artist from the West would come through with both lyrics and demands for respect from even the most misogynistic of men. Compton's own Yolanda Yo-Yo Whitaker made her introduction on Ice Cube's It's a Man's World by correcting him that it wasn't. First of all, let me tell you my name. It's Yo-Yo. And down in a girl, first offense. And that's a no-no. Somebody had to speak up about the widespread woman bashing that was blanketing the Los Angeles hip hop scene at the time. Really, it had gotten a little out of hand, Yo-Yo says, with NWA ushering in gangster rap along with Ice Cube's chart-topping success as a solo artist. Misogyny was rampant. Comparatively speaking, the West Coast's bashing of women in songs was more apparent than the East Coast, where it was more implied. Ice Cube was a major component of a trend in West Coast rap fueled by anger toward the system, the police, and yes, women. Still, he gave Yo-Yo a platform to bite back. I think it was the power, the relationship that I had with Ice Cube. Yo-Yo says of her immediate exposure. NWA was very powerful here on the West Coast, underground and getting to become really mainstream. To be the first woman out of Ice Cube's camp after he left NWA and went through all of that, it just really came naturally. Despite being a member of Ice Cube's crew and a mouthpiece in the growing West Coast hip hop scene, Yo-Yo still had to earn respect. I hung with the boys. I battled them all, she recalls. I battled Tupac. I battled the whole Digital Underground camp. I was on the road with Too Short and so many other artists, Scarface, Ghetto Boys. I think the respect came because I wasn't afraid to battle. I really was a rapper. In 1990, Yo-Yo was profiled by the Los Angeles Times alongside Queen Latifah and MC Lyte in an article about breaking into the men's club of rappers while traditionally being seen as sex objects or gold diggers, per the profile's author, Dennis Hunt. In some ways, their effort is a repeat of what female rockers went through in the 60s and 70s, he wrote. When asked about her then unreleased record's mission, Yo-Yo explained, "What I want my record to do is push women rappers up the ladder even closer to men. We've got some catching up to do, some more barriers to break down, some more minds to change, and we're doing it fast." Yo-Yo's 1991 debut album, Make Way for the Mother Lode, reached number 5 on the Billboard Top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart and delivered the anthem, "You Can't Play With My Yo-Yo," which inevitably became her battle cry. She may be named Yo-Yo, but she's not one to be played with like a toy. Her intent was made clear, and she proudly stood for intelligent Black women everywhere, but also aimed to uplift all women. Yo-Yo was bringing a new age of feminism into hip hop, starting with that single. You Can't Play With My Yo-Yo and her other single from the record, What Can I Do, both featured Ice Cube, solidifying that she was gangster rap approved, which offered her an opportunity to add her flair to a growing number of voices speaking out in West Coast rap about the ills in their respective neighborhoods. It was really intense on the West Coast, more so of a perspective. NWA's Fuck the Police, we felt that, Yo-Yo says. We had a lot of harassment by the police. The crack cocaine game was really big on the West Coast, so they had a gang task force. I mean, whether you're in a gang or not, they stereotyped everybody. If you're Black, you were in a gang. When I came on the scene, I really didn't realize all that was happening at the time. I was just a young girl who was an entertainer who loved music. But what Yo-Yo wouldn't do was compromise her authentic self, especially at a time when it was crucial to remain on brand. I remember writing Bonnie and Clyde with Cube, and Cube got to his verse. He went, "Got me a down bitch on my team." I said, wait. You can't call me a bitch. So he changed it to "Got me a down girl on my team," Yo-Yo recalls. And I was still able to keep "Got me a down ass nigga on my team." Suggestions about her style would be offered and politely rejected. Even in the years to come, when the movements of Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown would have their female rap predecessors questioning a stylistic switch into potentially sexier territory. Of course, you have all these guys in their cliques and they want you to perform a certain kind of way, Yo-Yo says. A lot of guys come to you, they say, "Hey, Yo-Yo, I think you should write a rap about this." I remember Tupac said, "You should write a rap like, I'm in love with my best friend's man." I was like, no, I could never do that. I would never be in love with my best friend's man. Looking to the East Coast, Yo-Yo saw the immediate potential in her own uprising on the rap scene. As the block in LA grew hotter by day, the work of the girls on the opposite coast fueled her to do more on her own stomping grounds. East Coast female rappers really motivated me, she says, and hearing Moni Love with that English accent, it really motivated me. Like, wow, women are really doing it. Here I was on the West Coast protecting women and creating my own intelligent Black women's coalition and trying to stand up for women. It was just something that it's always been in me. The riot was only just beginning. Ooh, okay. Well, thank you for coming on that. It was a little bumpy ride. I'm gonna make sure that next time we do Her Story in the Pages, I bring my book with me, because. But yeah, this is so powerful. I think really the point that Yo-Yo underscored and even Moni underscored, that at this point in the late 80s, early 90s, hip hop has now traveled outside of the US, East Coast. Now we over here on the West Coast. And the women across the board in every location are rocking it. I am so curious what y'all think about the Moni Love, Queen Latifah link up. I'm curious if y'all have ever heard Ladies First. Probably if you're watching this podcast, you're like, girl, of course I've heard Ladies First. But make sure you go. I mean, it's Women's History Month. Make sure you go and deep dive on all these artists, including the artists from past episodes. But yeah, I mean, it's just so powerful to see women persevering through the decades in hip hop, and looking back and hearing these stories about them, realizing how young they were and what a foundation they laid for us. So hip hop is a conversation. So what the fuck is you saying? What were these women saying? What do you think was missing in the conversation? Sometimes we take for granted those who came before us and the aspects of the conversation that they brought. For example, what were Moni Love and Queen Latifah saying? I mean, clearly ladies first, right? But what were they saying? What were they saying by having other female MCs in their music video? By linking up cross country? What do you think about this relationship between Cube and Yo-Yo and her insistence to not be called a bitch? And what do you think about this Intelligent Black Women's Coalition? I feel like that is very West Coast, to have this kind of cultural organizing, social justice component alongside what she was doing. Anyway, what are you calling for? How are you responding? Right now, we got a lot of shit going on in the world, and there's been a lot of shit going on in the world, and maybe that's just a U.S.er perspective, you know, because the veil is lifting over here for a lot of us, and our family across the world is like, yo, we've been out here, we've been seeing this, but from behind your mic, whatever your mic is in your life, how are you expanding the conversation? How are you listening? We had Aisha Fukushima on the podcast last year, and she brought something to light that I thought was amazing, which was, she was like, it's not just about your turn on the mic spitting in the cipher. This is how I interpreted it, but it's also about how we listen to one another in the cipher. And it's so true, right? If you're not listening, you can't hear the call. If you don't hear the call, how you gonna respond? And collaborate and cooperate with one another. So anyway, like, subscribe, share, save, comment below for sure. I want to hear like what stood out to you. What does it have you thinking? What do you remember? I love when y'all let me know like, yo, this is how old I was when this song dropped, or this is how this impacted me the first time I heard it, et cetera, et cetera. Happy Women's History Month. I love y'all. For real, for real.